Dear friends, welcome back to another class of Communicative English, wherein in today's class we are going to talk about the forms of communication. If you remember, in the previous class we discussed about the process of communication, and in today's class we would be talking about the different forms of communication. To give you a brief understanding about the forms of communication, and to particularly keep it or restrict it or limit it towards communicative English, you should understand that they are broadly categorized into two forms. The first one is verbal, the other one is non-verbal. Now, the things that can be spoken, the things that could be heard, the things that could be written, or the things that could be read, these are part of verbal communication. So when we talk about verbal communication, you should always remember they are subcategorized into two more parts. The first one is called as oral communication, and the second one is called as written communication. Now, whenever we are using any language, I'm not talking only about English, whenever you use any language, be it a regional or vernacular or any other foreign languages. Now, the language that we are using, if we are using it orally, wherein there is a person who is speaking and there is a person who is listening, such kind of communication or such type of communication will be considered as oral communication. The second one, whenever there are certain information that are written by a person and there is another person who is going to read the information to assure, to affirm, to say that yes, the information that is written by the other person is right or wrong, is correct, or is knowledgeable, or is trying to share some or the other information with the other person, we call it as written communication. So to make you once again understand, please keep in your mind, or you should be able to understand that whenever we talk about verbal communication is all related to a language. Now, whenever we are talking about the languages, we should always remember that the language can be spoken or language can be written and read. So when there is a process of speaking and there is a process of listening going on simultaneously, we call it as oral verbal communication. And whenever the process of written and reading goes on, then we call it as written communication. So these are the two different segments which form together as the verbal communication. Then let us come or discuss about the second form, that is non-verbal communication. Now, non-verbal communication is something different from the verbal communication. We were talking about language. Now, the language could be English, the language could be Hindi, language could be Maithili, language could be Bhojpuri, language could be the different languages that are spoken by the different people across countries. So, when we use a language, that again is considered as verbal. But in case if we are not using language, is it possible to communicate without any language? Of course, it is possible. You must have seen people who are blessed differently, who are, who are not good at speaking. They use different signs, and not only that, sometimes even the people who are blessed with speaking skills, they do use signals, they do use certain symbols, they do use sign language. Now, when you are driving, you are told, you are taught how to use the different signals or how to communicate, how to drive. Whenever you are driving, you often see the different symbols, you often see the different signals that are given in order to practice, in order to apply the driving rules, isn't it? What are you using? Nobody is going to come and stand in front of you and say that, look, here the traffic is too heavy, and so therefore you have to stop. There are certain lights, isn't it? The red light, the green light, the orange or yellow light, which talks or which says, which communicates, which gives you that information only through the signal, which conveys the information through the signal that wherein you have to stop. If there is a red light, it is guiding you to stop. If there is a green light, it is suggesting you to move ahead. And if it is a yellow or orange light, it is asking you to be ready. Similarly, we have seen different signs related to no smoking, no parking, trespassers prohibited. So there are a number of signs and symbols that are used every day to communicate with each other. But are we going to restrict it only to signs and symbols? No, of course not. What about our body? Do we communicate with the help of our body? Of course, we do it. This communication that happens with the body or with the help of our different body parts is called as body language. The first and the most important thing is our face. Now, on this particular face, your eyebrows, the way you're going to look at the people, that is your eyes, and the smile, the lips, the way that you're going to again give expression with with all these three, the combination of eyebrow, eyes, and lips, that help people understand what is it that you are thinking, what is it that you are expecting, or what are your perceptions. These can be easily understood by the other person without any language. And this language that they are using, or the language that you are trying to communicate with, is called as body language. So facial expressions matter a lot. Now, when we talk about the facial expression, it could be the eye contact that you have, it could be the eyebrows, the way you're going to keep your eyebrows. Sometimes you raise it up, sometimes you bring closer, sometimes you just raise one of your eyebrow, and sometimes you rub your chin, sometimes you look with your small eyes, sometimes you broaden your eyes. The smile that you are going to convey, it talks a lot, it gives a huge information, or it conveys a huge information to the other person. So these are very, very important, and we have to keep all these in our mind. So we should focus on the body language. And as a manager, or as a future technical expert, or the future manager, it is very important for you all to understand what is it that your body is conveying to the others. How do you stand? How do you sit? Again, these are very important, because here we are talking about your posture. Now, the way you stand, the way you walk, the way you look at others, the way you give your handshake, the way you offer your handshake, and the way you take the other gestures from the other person. So these all matters a lot. We are talking about the body language, and body language is completely trying to deliver what is it that is going on in your mind. So keep this in your mind. Facial expressions matters a lot. The gesture that is created by your hand, the posture, the way you carry your body, the way you stand, the way you sit, the way you communicate with your body language, that again matters a lot. Proximity, the distance that we maintain between the people. Say, for example, if you're talking about person who are very close to you, the gap that you are going to maintain between him or her would be very less. Now, if I give you an example, the gap, the distance that we maintain between our family members, particularly with our parents, is too less. Now, when we talk about our friends, it is between 2 feet to 3 feet. When we talk about a person who is known, who is good at friendship, but we know that the person is not that good, like not well acquainted, and we are not that close to each other, we do maintain a gap of say 4 to 6 feet. And then to people who are absolutely unknown, we do maintain a huge gap. So that is called as social distancing. So therefore, you should always understand the proximity matters a lot. Based on the proximity, we bridge up the gap. Based on the proximity, we can understand how closer we are with the other person, and what is the relationship, what kind of understanding, what kind of bonding we have with the other person. Touch matters a lot. You all were told about good touch and bad touch. So again, with the help of your touch, you can identify whether it is a good one or a bad one, and this gives a signal and cue to you whether the person is in good relationship or is trying to play tricks with you. So the personal appearance again matters a lot. How well you dress up, what is your way of approaching yourself, what is the importance of makeover in your life, how do you carry yourself, what is the dress that you're wearing. Say, for example, if it is somebody's funeral, you're not going to wear the gorgeous dress, or you're not going to have the gaudy makeover, isn't it? So what are you going to do? You're going to keep yourself as simple as you can, isn't it? Because you are feeling sorrow, you are not happy. So keeping all these in your mind, what do, you are not only showing that with the other, with like with your words, with verbal communication, but also with the non-verbal communication. That is the way you're going to dress up matters a lot, and that is conveyed through your body language. And finally, silence. Many a times silence is again a part and parcel of our communication. When you are silent, people do understand whether you are ignoring or you are confirming or acknowledging. There can be not many things that you convey and confirm whenever you are silent. So keep this in your mind, that whenever we are talking about facial expressions, whenever we talk about gesture, whenever we are talking about the posture, or if we talk about proximity, if we are talking about touch, if we are talking about the personal appearances, or if we talk about even the silence, these are part of non-verbal communication, wherein we will not be using a language to communicate. Rather, we use our body language and we try to understand with our logical thinking what is it that we want to do or what is it that we should be doing. So, if you have a proper understanding about what is a verbal and what is a non-verbal communication, this is going to help you a lot. If you are talking about becoming a good manager or dealing people in a good way or handling people in a better way or even handling difficult people, you have to work out on your body language as well as the verbal communication. That is, you have to have a complete, or you can say a good combination of verbal and non-verbal communication. And when I say verbal and non-verbal, a proper balance between what is to be conveyed with the language and also what you want to show with the help of your posture or gesture or your expressions. So keep this in your mind. These two are very, very important. And every now and then, whenever we are communicating, if you think it is only the language that is going to be heard, listened, and then people are going to react, you are wrong. Along with what you are speaking, along with what you are writing, people do observe your body language. And so, therefore, non-verbals are equally important as the verbal. So, keep all these things in your mind and do practice them in the best way so that you can convey the information in a right way to the recipient or to the respondents so that they can react according to your expectation. So, dear friends, in this class, we discussed about the verbal and non-verbal communication. In the next class, we are going to talk about the barriers of communication. Till then, take care of yourself and have a fantastic day.